Okay.
I'm not sure. It's keeping her ready?
You just want to because you're
Alrighty.
Thanks a lot. You're right.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our invocation tonight by Deacon Smith from Church of Ascension. Come on forward to the microphone. Deacon Smith, come on forward to the microphone so everybody on Channel 11 can hear you as well. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Jay. Jay asked me to keep this to about 15 minutes, if you don't mind. We bow our heads and we pray for God's blessing. Almighty God, we are so grateful for everything that you continually bestow on us. We're grateful for this beautiful town, for the people that live in it, and for those people that serve our community. We ask you, Lord, you said, when two or more are gathered in my name, I am with you. We know you are here with us tonight, Lord. We ask us to remember what you told us. Love one another as I loved you, and as you continue to love us. We ask you to bless our council and this evening. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Deacon. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schlum,
Here.
Councilmember Dickey. Here. Councilmember Elke.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cantino.
Here.
Councilmember Leger. Here. Councilmember Brown is absent. Councilmember Hanson. Here.
All right, great. Welcome, everyone. Just want to remind everybody, this is Drowning Impact Awareness Month, so we've got remember last council meeting, we got the little purple ribbons. That's just to remind you of the impact that drowning has on the families, communities, neighbors, and of course those victims. So make sure you watch your little ones around water. And go now to call to the public. Any speaker cards on items outside of the agenda?
No, Mayor.
All right. Move to our consent agenda. We're going to remove item number 5 has been requested to be put on the regular agenda, so we'll consider items and look for a motion on items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dickey.
Aye.
Mayor Schlum.
Aye.
Councilmember Leger.
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cantino.
Aye.
Councilmember Elke.
Aye.
Mayor 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. Move now to our regular agenda, item number 5, which is consideration of renewing the contract with Albert Holler and Associates for sales tax auditing services in the amount of $30,000 for 3 years. And I just realized I didn't go through the consent agenda like I normally do, and I usually read through it. So let me just, if it's all right with council, I'll just go through that here. Obviously, it's printed out and online and everywhere else, but item number 1 of the consent agenda was consideration of approving the town council meeting minutes from June 16th and 30th. Item 2, consideration resolution 2011-34, approving the First Amendment of the intergovernmental agreement with the Superior Court of Arizona for jury management services. Item 3, consideration of a special event liquor license application submitted by Samuel Coffey, representing the Sons of AMVET Squadron 7, for the purpose of a fundraiser to be held at Fountain Park, scheduled September 30th and October 1st. Item 4, consideration of special event liquor license by Cheryl Craig Morgan, representing Sunflower Foundation for purpose of fundraiser at 11056 North Saguaro Boulevard, scheduled November 5th. Item 5 we removed. We'll talk about that next. Item 6, consideration of canceling the regularly scheduled September 1, 2011 council meeting minutes due to the majority of council attending the annual league conference of cities and towns to be held in Tucson from August 30th through September 1st. And item 7, consideration of appointing council members Dennis Brown, Tate Elke, and Henry Leger to the Town Council Subcommittee for the purpose of interviewing P&Z Commission applicants and a Youth Strategic Planning Advisory Commission applicant. So thank you to those, and to make note that the next council meeting will not be until mid-September, 15th? 15th. All right, now on to item number 5 of our regular agenda, consideration renewing the contract with Albert Hohler and Associates. Julie?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item before you is renewing the contract. It's a 3-year contract with a sales tax auditor. The town does not do sales tax audits in-house. We contract outside for it, and we have contracted with this firm since 96, 97. Over that period of time, we have paid Albert Hohler and Associates $352,000, but we've collected $1.3 million. This contract renewal is for an additional 3-year period beginning July 1, 2011, for $30,000.
All right, thank you. How long have we been contracting?
Mayor, members of the council, since 96, 97.
Okay. All right, council, I look for a motion to approve that item.
So moved.
Second?
All right, any discussion? Anyone on the public in that item?
No, sir.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 760.
Thank you very much. All right, now calling Bob Rogers to go to item number 8, public hearing, special use permit to allow Fountain Hills Wellness Center located at 13235 North Verde River Drive to create a residential apartment within a commercial building in the C2 zoning district. And I'll open up the, or actually we get a presentation first, Andrew, and then open up public hearing? Or, okay. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Section 1203 of the zoning ordinance allows a single-family and multifamily dwelling within the C2 district only if they are granted a special use permit by the town council. Section 202 of the zoning ordinance outlines the criteria and findings that the council should use when they're making that decision. Zoning ordinance requires a finding that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of this use will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, peace, comfort, and general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, nor should the use be detrimental to or injurious to property and improvements. The existing building is on property located in the downtown area in Plat 208 at 13235 North Verde River Drive near Palisades Boulevard intersection and next to the Chamber of Commerce building. This is the existing building showing the location of the new entrance to the proposed apartment. And this is a sketch noting that the entrance will also be recessed. The floor plan shows that the apartment will occupy approximately 1/6 of the building space. It'll be near the rear of the building, be for the exclusive use of the property owner, and it will be strictly an accessory use to the main use, which will be the wellness center. Construction will meet all building codes, fire codes, and accessibility requirements. The downtown area specific plan or vision plan adopted as a part of the general plan created 9 districts in the downtown area, all of which, except the civic district, had allowances for mixed use component that included residential uses. Therefore, staff believes that this proposal is consistent with that plan and also with the general plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 3-2 to recommend approval of this proposal. Staff recommends that council find that the proposal meets the zoning section 202D criteria, is consistent with the downtown area specific plan and general plan, and that you approve the proposal to allow the residential apartment in the C2 zoning district as presented. That's my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. We'll open up the public hearing. Any speaker cards on this item?
Mayor, I have 3 cards. 2 didn't indicate, but I'm thinking they do want to talk. I have Dina Galassini, Terry Schmidt, and Olive Fox.
All right, thank you. Ms. Galassini, do you wish to speak on this item? Yes. Yep. Please come forward. Thank you.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone, all representatives. My name is Dina Galassini. I'm a resident here in Fountain Hills for 8 years, business owner for 4 years. Just to reiterate, here we have a 5,240 square foot building with a proposed apartment by the owner of 780 square feet in the back of the building with that has nothing to do with the commercial building that is proposed to be a wellness center. I would like to disclose that I am a licensed realtor in the state of Arizona. A very worthy source told me, or informed me, that if the owner does not lease or sell the 5,200 square foot building, that he plans on building a second-story apartment. So if the council disapproves this evening or denies the special use permit to put an apartment in this commercial building that in which a absentee owner plans to occupy, that means he's an out-of-state owner who plans on just staying in his residence when he's in town. And if the council decides to deny the special use permit this evening, they may more than likely see a permit for a second-story apartment in the near future. This obviously would comply far more with the specific area plan, especially in this situation, as I said, with an absentee owner. Mr. Gavin bought this building in late 2009. In November 2010, he listed it for lease. It's set listed for 174 days at $5,633 a month, and it was taken off the market May of 2011. Mr. Gavin never once reduced the rent to try to get it rented. The real estate agent's sign still sits in front of the building, even though it was been off the market. The owner and agent's remarks in the listing stated, located in the heart of Fountain Hills business area. It was also marketed as C3 for some reason. I had a commercial rental that sat unrented and unsold for almost 3 years on the lake. I reduced the rent over that time from $1,400 a month to $735 to try to get it rented. I didn't apply for a special use permit to cop out and put an apartment in it. We did manage to sell it, but we ate $50,000. The proposed wellness center is just that, it's proposed. However, the apartment will more than likely be the motive, and the occupant an absentee occupant at that. It's clear to me, may I just continue for 30 more seconds?
Just wrapping it up. Thank you.
Okay. It's clear to me that Mr. Gavin's motives are unclear. I and over 30 business owners from that petition that was signed are asking the mayor and town council to deny the special use permit and keep the commercial use in place. Mr. Gavin should first put his proposed wellness center in place to prove he is not contemplating other schemes, or he can employ Commissioner Connick to design a second-story apartment or condo, create jobs for people to construct it, and keep Fountain Hills' vision and ordinance in place. Thank you for allowing me to extend it. Thank you.
Terry Schmidt?
Welcome, Ms. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Schlum, Vice Mayor Contino, and the rest of the town council. As you guys already know my point of view because I emailed you all, I just wanted to come here and put it on Channel 11 and have it on record, my disapproval of this. I guess I need to state my name is Terry Schmidt. I live at 14267 Boxwood Lane here in Fountain Hills. My sister and I own a business 2 buildings down from this proposed this proposal permit. Anyway, we have looked into the downtown vision, and I personally don't feel a resident on the main floor like this one is in with the downtown vision. I was under the impression the downtown vision had residents second story or higher, not on the ground level. This is, as you know, a C2 commercial area. There are no residents directly in this area at this time. I don't see a need for it. We have plenty of residential areas available to this man if he does come into town and needs a place to stay. The holiday's not far. And I just don't see that he needs to put an apartment on the ground floor of his business. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
Olive Fox?
Welcome, Ms.
evening.
Fox.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman. My name is Olive Fox, and I am a resident of Fountain Hills. I'm also a business owner. I have 2 businesses here in town, and I'm a property owner. And when I purchased my property, which is located 3 properties down from the proposed change, we were not aware that it would be allowed on a ground floor level to have apartment. I understood, because we looked at that building to buy it when we were buying in town here, that there was an allowance to put a second floor on the building for living quarters, which I do believe is in compliance with the master plan. I'm here this evening on behalf of 34 concerned business owners in that square block of Lot 208 to present a petition to the council to deny the proposed change for the special use permit. The proposal would allow for, and I did send a letter to the council and also to the town planner, the proposal would allow a partial residence, which, according to the documents, is stating that it's not going to be part of the centre. It would make more sense if it was part of the centre, but it's just an individual residence. When we moved here from Sedona, we found a property to live in. We weren't looking to get a change of use for our commercial property. But the residents and business owners in the square block are concerned because of the incompatibility with the surrounding commercial properties, the lowering of commercial property owners' value, possible living quarters other than that of the owner. So when the building is sold, what then happens to this? There's very little or no planning for the current infrastructure or future revitalization of commercial businesses in that square block. And finally, with the current volume of short sales and residences that are on the market, we think that there would be better choices for living than in a commercial building. And under Section 202, the special use permit states that its purpose is the intent of this ordinance to permit special uses in appropriate zoning districts, but only in specific locations within such districts that can be designed and developed in a manner which assures maximum compatibility with the adjoining uses. And I don't believe that this is. I believe if there was a second floor, it would be. But on a ground floor, I don't believe it's compatible with the businesses in the surrounding area. So I'm going to present the petition to you, and it's 34 businesses, business owners, and we would ask that you deny the special use permit. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Fox. Any others? That was it?
That was it, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. Council, any questions at this time for staff or discussion? All right, I'll look for a motion. Is there a motion?
I actually have a couple questions for staff, if
Yep.
you can.
Yep.
Maybe Bob.
Councilmember Elke.
Thank you.
Bob?
Bob, once this is granted, or if this is granted, I should say, there's no way, the town can't roll that back in the future. This rides with the property for future sales. There's nothing that the town can do in that respect. Is that correct?
If you're granting a special use permit for an apartment, then that apartment is pretty much going to be with the property, yes.
Okay. Now, some of the speakers tonight referenced the downtown area specific plan, and there was a couple comments, or a couple of the speakers made similar comments about residents being on the ground floor. Can you elaborate a little bit about that as far as the downtown area specific plan, as far as what is envisioned? Is there a vision for residences on the ground floor? And one of the things that was coming to mind for me is if there were residents on the second floor, is it possible that there could be the entrance to those residences on the first floor, similar to a condo situation or an apartment? If you can speak a little bit to that, please.
Yeah, that was one of the big things with the downtown vision plan was the mixed use, allowing residential primarily on the upper stories. If it was going to be on a ground floor, it shouldn't face the street. It should be facing the rear of the areas. Obviously, the apartments or condominiums would have to have their ground floor entrances, but those should be not the predominant entrances. It should be commercial on the ground floor. In a single-story building, obviously, there is no second floor to put the apartment on. This is in the Avenue District of the Downtown Vision Plan, and that also spoke a little bit about potentially having a brownstone-style condo or apartment development in that area. That obviously would be a ground floor unit, and those typically do face the street. But overall, the comments were generally correct. The vision plan looks for upper-story apartments or facing the rear.
Mayor, if I may,
Yep.
one other question. There's some residents have approached me and have talked to me about this particular issue and have said, well, if it's owner-occupied, does there need to be any particular special zone or special use permit if it's owner-occupied business? If, for example, the owner is running the business, so to speak, does there need to be specific zoning or considerations for that? Can you speak to that?
I don't believe we can actually do that. I don't know how enforceable it would be even if we did put that kind of a condition on the apartment.
Well, I think what my question was is if you own the business, whether it's commercial or retail, and you are also living in there and you're running the business, is there special restrictions or you need to apply for a special use permit, or if you're in there as opposed to being a tenant? I mean, can you live in there? Because I can think of a couple commercial buildings in mind that I at least have a belief that there might be somebody living in there at least part-time.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be. But if you're going to be in this zoning district, you have to have a special use permit for residential use, regardless of whether or not you're owner occupied.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Councilmember Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Part of what I went back and forth on this a little bit is because I was thinking in terms of the desire to have mixed use. And even if you think back, to dry cleaners or wherever, where, back east where there's the front store and then, the people are in an apartment. So I get that. But the part of our special use where it says peace, comfort, general welfare of the persons residing or working in the neighborhood, I think that's there for a reason, to give us the kind of ability to discuss this. And it seems really apparent that it's not really the folks that live in that area don't have peace or comfort or a good feeling about it. So that is really what jumps out at me. Some of the things that some of the folks said who aren't in favor of it, I'm not interested in trying to talk about the person that wants it or what their desire is or anything like that. And I was a little confused about why, if it's on the second floor, which I think everybody said it would be okay with them if it was on the second floor, but why would it bring property values down if it's on the first, or the idea of the parking and the darkness, that would all still be there if it was on the second floor. So some of that I didn't really take into consideration, but just to me the big glaring thing is the safety, maybe not the safety, but the peace, comfort, and general welfare, and that these folks really don't want this there. So that, to me, kind of overrides everything.
Councilmember Hanson.
How would this property be classified for property tax purposes? Commercial or residential, or how would that be handled?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Hanson, I don't know that it'll change the property tax classification, but since we don't charge property tax, we're not in the business of determining classifications on any of these properties anyway. I think the primary use, in my experience, has been what generally drives the bus on that, but I'm not certain how if this would change it. It's a very small area. It's not a very big building to.
But that kind of goes to the compatibility discussion. And I guess I kind of echo what Ginny said. I first was not really for this, and then it was like, well, yeah, maybe it's okay. But then as I read the P&Z minutes and read through all the individuals on the petition, they represent a very diverse representation of our business community. And there's a lot of people on there who, I really respect their opinion. And I agree that, we post property for a reason when a change is going to be made, and that reason is to get the input from the people in the surrounding area. And I think we didn't see any petitions or have any testimony saying we really want this. So I would tend to agree with Jenny.
Thank you. Is the property owner or representative here do they wish to speak at all?
They are not here.
Okay. I had a couple questions. The TCCD zoning, we did rezone in alignment with the vision plan portion of downtown, not this portion, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that TCCD zoning would actually enable mixed-use development, isn't that right?
Well, it would still be a special use.
Okay, so it would still remain special use. Isn't the idea of TCCD zoning is to offer the type of development that we have in our vision plan? Or
The TCCD zone, that was tweaked slightly, actually before we adopted the vision plan, to allow for,
movie theater.
I guess, a little bit easier for mixed use, yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, were there other items that considered that I didn't perhaps see in the staff report related to noise or hours, and most businesses are closed later at night? Is that a consideration, and when you're looking at making a recommended approval to council or commissions?
When staff made their recommendation? We looked at that. We kind of considered that the apartment is going to be more or less an evening to nighttime use, because most people who are in an apartment or residents are away at work during the day. You're correct. The businesses would be open primarily during the day. We looked at it as more or less, we tried to stay strictly with the ordinance and with the downtown vision plan to see, does this fit within the criteria that were outlined? Our assumption is that it does, because it's a residential unit going into a commercial area. It's a new business coming into town. So that was part of the economic development idea, to get that new business to actually locate there. And the plan doesn't specify whether it's a large development or a single unit. It just says mixed use and residential. Residential was encouraged in order to help promote the businesses in the downtown area. And that's why we came up with that recommendation.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Councilmember Leger.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Bob, for your presentation. Just a few questions. If in fact we don't have a motion, or if in fact we vote against this particular proposal, we're not really voting against a proposed business. I think that needs to be clear.
Correct.
And I think that needs to be clear for the public. We're not having an adverse effect on economic development or voting against a proposed business. I mean, the wellness center is kind of, a possibility. The other thing, too, I noticed that the P&Z vote was very close, and read the minutes. And what struck me is Commissioner Turner's comments stating, he seemed like he was on the fence, and he stated that he thought it was important for Plat 208 Association to chime in and provide some input. Have they provided any input?
I haven't gotten anything.
Nothing. He also suggested that it was important for the owner to appear before the council. It's my understanding the owner's not here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. There was a petition forwarded to us, and I had an opportunity to take a few minutes to look that over. And one of the things I was interested in doing was looking at the addresses of the people that signed the petition. And it was kind of difficult to read the addresses. You know how petitions are. Well, I know how petitions are. People have a tendency to scribble things on them. And could you tell me, or if there's someone that presented the petition, could let me know what percentage of the businesses right on that street is represented on that petition? Just approximate.
Basically, we went that whole block that went down Verde River, down Palisades, down Squirrel, and back. That section of 208 is basically
the entire 208 block, and I was within the 300 feet, which is where the notices were delivered. Without that, every single person within that 300 feet line.
Thank you, Mayor.
Except for the Chamber of Commerce. They're not.
I understand. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for that comment. That was a conclusion I came to as well, that 100% of the business owners within proximity are saying this is not a compatible use, and I think that's an overwhelming argument. Oftentimes, I am not swayed, or this council is not typically swayed by a petition that is not representative of, let's say, all residents. But here we have a case, we have a district in the Swaback plan, and we have the owners there basically, or people leasing property, saying that it's not an appropriate use. And one more comment, Mayor. This would be a far stretch to be referring to this as a mixed-use development that even closely approximates what Swaback had in his vision for that area. And, if we went into some type of redevelopment in that area, I think the mixed use would look very different than apartments popping up or bedrooms popping up in businesses. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councilmember, or Vice Mayor Contino.
Thank you, Mayor. Will this set a precedence that means everybody that's got vacant buildings that haven't been able to get rented for years are going to be able to apply for apartments in downtown?
If they're in a C2 district, they can apply for the apartment. It's up to the council to grant it.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember, or Vice Mayor. Bob, on the plans, it doesn't look like there's a restroom in the residential area. Is that?
I didn't look at the floor plan that
Okay,
closely.
the floor plan. It looks like it would likely. It would likely utilize probably, oh, I see a shower. Maybe there is. Okay. All right. Thanks, Bob. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Bob. Is there a motion to move forward on this special use permit request? All right. No motion. Andrew? Dies lack of a motion?
Yes, Mayor.
All right. So on to the next item. Thank you, Bob. Item number 10, presentation by Steve Davidson, President, CEO, and Tom Shaughnessy, Senior Vice President of Operations, Boys and Girls Club Greater Scottsdale, and possible direction to staff relating to disbursement of funding for fiscal year 2011-12 for teen enrichment and other programs. Welcome.
Thank you. Julie, is the presentation on here?
All right.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And to advance it, just the arrow. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Davidson. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Mayor Schlum, Vice Mayor Contino, members of the council, I appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk to you on behalf of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Scottsdale. So, just a quick overview of our organization. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the history here in Fountain Hills, and then turn it over to Tom to talk a little bit specifically about the programs and services that we offer. As you can see, our vision talks about we provide a positive impact for the youth in the Greater Scottsdale and Native American communities we serve by helping each youth reach their ultimate potential. You'll see Greater Scottsdale because we have 9 sites within our organization, only 4 are actually in Scottsdale. Our mission is to provide youth development services that instill core values and life-enhancing skills in a safe environment. We do that through 3 major areas: academic success, good character, and healthy lifestyles. Quick overview of our organization. We serve 16,500 members between the ages of 5 and 18 through a very diverse group of kids. As you can see the demographics as it relates to the different ethnicities there. Again, we have 9 club sites within our organization. We have 5 that have full-service teen centers, including the facility out here in Fountain Hills, the McKee branch. We have multiple outreach sites. We have about 155,000 square feet of facilities providing 125 unique programs, a budget just under $9 million, and full and part-time staff of over 200 people. As it relates here to the Mary Ellen and Robert McKee branch, we started our club out here in 1996, working with the school district and providing services there at Four Peaks Elementary. We were serving 25 kids the first time when we opened up. We became a full-service facility when we partnered with the school district and took over the old administrative offices and renovated that building. We went into a capital campaign that the town assisted us with, and we raised the remainder of that money. Currently, we serve 1,279 youth between the ages of 5 and 18, so obviously we've grown a lot since the 25 kids that we started with. The budget here specifically for this branch is $800,000, and we have 6 full-time and 12 part-time staff here. A little bit of a quick member achievement for the group here, and these are all national awards that were received by kids here in Fountain Hills. We don't provide last names for our members for specific reasons, but Casey won a $2,000 National Money Matters Scholarship through the Schwab Foundation. Jaden won the National, you have to look at it because I always get it wrong, Dribble Distance Swish Contest. Actually got to go to Los Angeles and be part of the NBA All-Star Weekend this year and participate in that. And we had 2 young ladies that were national award winners as it related to film animation for kids between the ages of 6 and 19. Tom?
Thank you. Some of the programs that, some of the programs that have been provided in the past years, provided through the town funding, include a junior staff program, which kind of focuses on job readiness and job skills, Smart Girls program, which focuses on girls' wellness, self-image, body image, Passport to Manhood, which is kind of the equivalent of Smart Girls for boys, Skill Tech 1 and 2, which goes over computer hardware and networking skills, Digital Arts Suite, which, as Steve mentioned, was the 2 young ladies from the McKee branch actually won the national award. It's creating art, includes movies, music, graphic design, and photography through technology. We do the Money Matters Financial Literacy Program, compound interest, savings, all of those things that teens need when they go out into the world. And then Power Hour, which is our homework help and education program. So those are some of the programs that have been able to be provided through the funding through the town. Some of the results as measured through knowledge gains through pre and post tests, Passport to Manhood, 39% gain. The Digital Art Suite, you see some really big increases there because I think kids really enjoy the technology and really learn a lot through the hands-on nature of that. The Money Matters program, 25% gain in knowledge. Smart Girls program, only a 2% gain, but that's because their pre-tests were so high, so that we seem to be doing pretty well with working with the girls there. And then in education, there's a 13% increase in the GPA for members who regularly attend the club, as opposed to members who don't attend the club regularly. So there's a correlation there in education as part of the homework help and the education programs that we provide. This year, last year we received $100,000 through the town, and this year, knowing that you are looking at about $80,000, so we proposed about an $80,000 in program funding, broken up into the areas kind of in our mission. So academic success, we'd be looking at doing some homework help, tutoring. We have an environmental sustainability program that was developed through the University of Phoenix for our clubs, continuing the Money Matters program, also looking at Career Launch, which is a job readiness and career exploration program. Then we'd look at our Good Character and Citizenship programs, Youth for Unity, which is a diversity program. How do we get along with folks with different backgrounds? Our Young Patriot Citizenship program, which teaches kids about government and citizenship. And then our Torch Club Leadership program, which is for 11 to 13-year-olds, where they elect their own officers and determine their own activities. And then in the Healthy Lifestyles area, we'd continue with Smart Moves Drug and Alcohol Use Prevention program, and then do some work with the nutrition program, Healthy Habits, and then the Triple Play Fitness program. So those are the programs that we're looking at. The budget would cover some of the costs, staff and benefits, program supplies, award for recognition, training, conference fees for youth, special events, and transportation. And then just wanted to share with you, we partnered with 2 other organizations in the Valley, the Boys and Girls Clubs of the East Valley and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Phoenix. and did a study, had a third-party evaluator come in and do a study of the economic impact of clubs. And they determined for every dollar spent by the clubs that we generate a little over $19 in economic impacts for the community, which this is the total amount of all three budgets. If you look at just the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Greater Scottsdale budget, it's about $172 million worth of economic impact, and that impact is through the formula that they use, which indicates wage gain from high school graduation, savings from preventing teen pregnancy, preventing juvenile delinquency and juvenile offense, savings from reduced juvenile drinking, earnings from parents of club members who can continue working, and then the impact of the overall expenditures and the value of our volunteer labor. So we think investing in a Boys and Girls Club is a good use of funds and helps to provide for a strong community. So that's our quick presentation, and we're open to any questions.
Thanks, Mr. Shaughnessy. We'll take some questions here, but I should have first went over to Ms. Getty and let her introduce the actual next three items on our agenda, including this one, which were commonly known as community contracts. And Julie, you want to just set us up here as if we didn't hear this presentation yet?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The town has contracted over the past 4 years for various services that we don't provide, specifically for youth services, cultural arts for youth, as well as some food, the food bank. This we budgeted, again, there is budgeted funds in the fiscal year 11-12 budget. This is an opportunity for the groups to come forward and make a proposal to the town as to how those funds will be spent.
Good.
So we'll have, after the Boys and Girls Club, we will have the Community Theater, Val Stasic, and then the Extended Hands Food Bank, David Iverson.
All right, great. Thanks again, guys, for the presentation. Let me see first on this item, number 10, if there are any speaker cards.
Yes, Mayor, we have one card, Dorothy Dugan.
All right, thank you. I'll take someone from the public wish to comment on this item. Come on forward, Ms. Dugan. Welcome. Dungeon.
Hi, well, hello, Mayor, Schlum, and council members. My name is Dorothy Dudgeon, and I am really not, I'm an advocate for the Boys and Girls Club in Fountain Hills, but I do not have a personal association for them. I did speak with Tom Shaughnessy about this, and I was aware that the town has decreased their budget by $20,000 from $100,000 to $80,000. And I understand that in this, as municipal responsibility is in these austere measures that we're going through now, that you do have to look at your budget. But I'm also aware of the Centennial Park project that the town has appropriated $75,000 for. We are in a different time now. And I'm asking you, as people, what are we going to invest in? Are we investing in things, or are we investing in people? I think the impact of the Boys and Girls Club on the town of Fountain Hills is so important. And in this time, there is no recognition, really, for these kids going through there. There aren't any plaques for them. There's no names that are going to be put on all these additional children that receive these services. So I'm asking you in the future, when you invest in things, in the Centennial Park, I saw the plans, they're beautiful. And I know that much time and money is going to be donated by the people of Fountain Hills to do this, and Fountain Hills is certainly blessed by the people that have great talent and great volunteer time. But I'm asking consideration to invest in people, to invest in children rather than things. That is our great legacy. When we look back on this time, this year, 2012, next year will be our centennial year. When we look back on this, even 50 years, what did the town do? Did they invest in things? Did they invest in people? And that's the legacy, I think, that we should all look at when we look at this austere time that we have right now, when our budgets are cut back, because they have to be cut back because the revenues are not there. So I am advocating for the Boys and Girls Club. Again, I have never met the men before in my life, but I'm asking the town council to consider investing in people, not in things.
Thanks, Ms. Dungeon. All right. Any questions for Mr. Davidson or Mr. Shaughnessy? Councilmember Dickey.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Dickey.
Thank you. Mayor, I appreciate your remarks, ma'am. I want to address that first, just to talk a little bit about the, not just the fact that that money and the funding is from a different place, but the advocacy for something like the Centennial Circle, at least to me, has everything to do with people. It's has a lot of history around it. I'm hoping and anticipating it'll be a gathering place. It'll be a place for community. That's absolutely what I anticipate for that.
Your time is up.
Yeah, too bad. You're out of luck. I want to preface this by saying I'm asking these questions because this is taxpayer money, taxpayer from the entire town, and I feel like, obviously we're stewards of that. We make decisions based on that and on transparency. And also knowing that there are other needs, just like we were just talking about, and earlier we were talking about the posse or Care Fountain Hills or the transportation van that we had to do without. So we all know that we're in tough times and we're trying to make some decisions. My first question would just be about how many kids do you think would be served by these classes?
By the services that we discussed today?
Yeah, like the $40,000 for the academic success, $20,000 for the character, $20,000 for the health. How many kids in and out of there do you expect to serve?
Well, I would say the majority of the kids that come through either the after-school program or the summer program. So those numbers would probably be somewhere between $400 and $500, $400 or $500 children.
Yeah.
Because what we would do is we do a lot of those programs through rotations in the clubs.
Okay, so Mayor, then these would primarily be members of Boys and Girls Club.
All of the children that we're talking about, the 1,276 kids, have to be registered members of the club.
Okay, and you probably, yesterday in the paper, there was some information about some sports programs that Fountain Hills has partnered with the Boys and Girls Club over the last several years. And one of the items at the time when we first started were that the kids that were in flag football and in basketball were paying a $25 extra to become members of the Boys and Girls Club. And then I thought that we weren't doing that anymore, but then I see today that the flag football is charging the $25 for participation for kids to play basketball and to play football. So that's kind of a separate issue, except that it generates, if you look at 300 kids at flag football and 100, or in basketball, and 100 in flag football, it's about $10,000 of if they weren't all already members. So that's the top amount. But and that amount has not been factored in to the split with the town that we do on these two programs. So the budget sheet that we have that talks about how much revenue is generated by those two programs and then how much goes out, and the split does not reflect the $25 per student that kids have to pay in order to play basketball. Now that is something that is a discussion that we had because there was some concern that if a kid wanted to play basketball at town of Fountain Hills, they shouldn't have to become a member of the club, and that also brings to mind the number of kids that you say are members of the club. Because if 400 would be the largest amount, but we'll half that. So if 200 of those kids were there really just because they wanted to play basketball. So in the desire to be transparent in this conversation, that's why I bring this up, not out of interest in taking any of the funding away, but I would ask if would be a possibility to look at not charging the Fountain Hills kids who want to play in those two programs to become members or to not have to pay an extra $25 because the parents have indicated that they have a great concern, especially when their kids are older, they don't use the club for anything else, and they really only use it just for that. So I guess I'm interested in I'm interested in the council's reaction to that, just because I would just like to feel that if we are going to give this 80,000, that we all feel real good about it, and we're all up in the light.
Sure. Mayor Shalom, Councilmember Dickey. First of all, the money that we're talking about, none of that is funding any of those sports programs that we're discussing. This partnership that you're discussing with the town and the Boys and Girls Club is something the town came to us and discussed. So if it would be better for the town to just do the football program or their basketball program on their own, we'd be more than happy to just continue to do our services separately of that. But again, that relationship was developed through the services and the request of the town, not by or initiated by the Boys and Girls Club. So, and I understand what you're saying, but also understand that we have a budget out here in this community of $800,000, and only a portion of that money is actually raised through services and fees and the money that we receive the town. The rest of that money has to be raised by the Board of Directors for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Scottsdale through their special events, their annual campaign, grants, and those types of things. And none of that cost or services are put back directly into the town. That's money that we choose to raise because we think it's important that we provide services out here.
Here, Councilmember Dickey.
I understand that there was a time when there were, maybe 4 teams here and 4 teams there, so it made a lot of sense to do that, and I'm not suggesting that part of it was not, good for the kids and for the community, but I am questioning the extra $25 and the fact that they have to become members in order to be in those programs. And then if that does continue, then why isn't that then reflected in the revenue for those 2 programs? You know what I mean?
No, I don't. Reflective in the revenue of those 2 programs, meaning?
Excuse me, I don't know that everybody they didn't get this for tonight, but basically the sheet, the balance sheet for, this one's the youth basketball one, but that has, the total revenue, total expenses, the salaries and all those things. And then at the end, the bottom line, and then it's an even split. But the revenue here doesn't include the $25 per 300 in this case.
Okay.
So I'm just asking about that.
Okay, Mayor Slum, Councilmember Dickey, you have a document that I don't have or I haven't seen. I think that is a town, maybe a town spreadsheet in regards to, I'm sorry.
I think what she's looking at is what we do, just as a reminder for the council, is in this partnership, everyone that comes into and pays for the basketball and the flag football fees, because this is a partnership with the town, we take those fees that are directly towards the basketball and the football program, take the expenses out, and at the end of the year, we cut a check back to the town for half that amount. Now, and again, so I understand what you're saying about the membership fee, but we could have a discussion about since we use our facility for all the games, all the basketball games, and our staff, and there's no city staff that come to oversee the games or put together the teams or hire the referees or go out and get the uniforms ordered or all those things. It's a great partnership, and the town came to us on that partnership. But I think the value that we provide in the programs and then what goes back to the town, I mean, we can have that discussion. But I think that's what she's talking about. And you're saying add in the $25 for those kids that come in, maybe just for the basketball or the football program. I think that's what you're suggesting, Councilman.
Yeah, and Mayor, I guess I'm trying to figure out why they have to become members of Boys and Girls Club to be in these programs. Just because I thought we had done this probably 2 or 3 years ago, where that wasn't going to be the case. And so a couple of parents brought that up to me, and I just felt that it was my responsibility to ask you about that because we're just representing the whole community here.
No, and I understand. And if we ever have any parents who can't afford the $100 or the $25, we have scholarship opportunities for those individuals as well. But a lot of that money also does cover the member's insurance for that individual. So if that individual should get hurt, that's covered through the membership fees.
Okay, and Mayor, just in defense of myself here, because I just realized that I'm doing what I don't like to do, which is surprise people. It was just in the paper that I read, like at 4 o'clock this afternoon when I saw that. So, and I thought we weren't doing that anymore. So I am sorry for not speaking to you ahead of time about this.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, we've had that ongoing discussion. I know other council members, it's been brought up over the years, but there was never a time when it was decided that that wasn't going to continue. So it has been a discussion point, but our policy just, it hasn't changed, even though it has been a discussion point, but there's never been a decision on that.
I think there was about a year where we actually did institute something working with you guys where somebody with the $25 understood to pay for and cover some of the liability, from what I recall. And you become a member, there's certain obligations you sign up to and you agree to, and maybe there's some insurance that's included in there. And there was an option that, at least for that year, and we thought going forward there'd be an option if folks didn't want to become a member, they might pay a little bit higher registration fee to cover some of that expense. So I think some of us did think that that was finalized, so maybe that's worth revisiting as we move forward.
Okay.
Anything else on this item? Councilmember or Vice Mayor Contino.
Thank you. I would just like to say one thing in defense of that. The school district is making the sports people pay. Everything we do in these schools today are pay, but yet our tax dollars is unbelievable for what we have to do. So in defense of that, I think for what you're doing, I'm very much of a fan of this. My people come up to me and say they wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have the Boys and Girls Club here. So what you're doing is good. The $25 is boo-hoo today. You have to protect yourself. Protect yourself. The parents will do it. If there's not, like you said, there's other funds to do it. Thank you for everything you do for this community, and I'm sorry we didn't give you all your money.
Thanks, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hanson.
Steve, would the Boys and Girls Club have come to Fountain Hills in 1996 if there had not been a partnership established with the town?
Mayor Shalom, Councilmember Hanson, actually, the young lady that's 2 seats to your right was actually the person who actually brought the Boys and Girls Club to Fountain Hills, because we started with a partnership with the Sheriff's Department, with the town, with the school district, with the Midnight Madness program, and that's how we initiated that. The start of the program was through some federal money, OJP money that we got, that provided us some operating funds of about $75,000 a year, which allowed us to start the program there in the school there at Four Peaks, and we expanded out from there. We developed a board out here, and they led the charge. If you remember back, there was a time period when there was a discussion of having a YMCA out here as well as a Boys and Girls Club, and as you know, the YMCA chose to pull out at that point, but because the expectation was that the town would build the facility and then the town would fund the facility, and we never asked that from the town. We're glad that we're out here. We're glad that Julie asked us to come out when she did, and we felt like we've been a great partner to the town, and we're proud to be out here. And we think we do great things out here, and this obviously is not going to deter us from any of the service that we provide out here and to the kids out here. It just means that we have to raise another $20,000 somewhere else.
Does it help in your fundraising efforts to partner with the jurisdiction that you are located in?
Oh, of course. Of course. Anytime that we can get the support from the town, be it the council members, the mayor, the sheriff's department, whatever those jurisdictions are out here, obviously that creates value, and that creates some camaraderie amongst the two groups, but it also gives us some credibility as we go out and try to do things in other communities as well. It's great to know that you've got those types of partnerships.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Leger.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Much appreciated. I do have a few questions, Mayor, and it really doesn't have to do specifically with the amount that we've appropriated, which is $80,000 for the Boys and Girls Club. But I would like to direct my questions towards our interim town manager and finance director, as well as anyone from the Budget Committee. And this is kind of a global question that really applies to the three contracts that we're looking at this evening. It was my understanding that we had some pretty extensive conversation, the Budget Committee had some extensive conversation throughout our budget deliberations regarding kind of a new way of doing business with our community partners in terms of, rather than awarding a lump sum, it was going to be specific deliverables, it was going to be fee for service, and it was going to be more like a service contract. Julie, could you address where we're at with that and structurally how this will work? And as I mentioned earlier, we have appropriated the $80,000. I'm interested in knowing how that will be spent, how will we be billed for that, and how we will pay for that, and when we will pay for that in our cycle. So Julie, if you could address that.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Leger, members of the council. The Budget Committee did have quite a bit of discussion over these contracts, what we refer to as the community contracts. What our interest was that funding the contracts would have, for the benefit of the taxpayers, they could see what they were getting for their dollars, that there would be specific deliverables or specific programs. These are particular programs that the town doesn't run. For example, the youth theater and the Boys and Girls Club provides youth and a teen center, which the town does not have. And so when we had this discussion and we talked about the appropriation, what we wanted to convey to the groups was that the appropriation would buy something for the taxpayers, that the taxpayers would be confident that the money that was dispersed to them would be purchasing a program or a service or a product.
Very good. And how do I ask the question a little differently? When we talk about fee for service, then, in terms of paying those bills or paying for those services, in the past we've maybe put out a lump sum of money, and it was my understanding we were not going to go that route. So could you address how the billing will occur and how we will address those services? If they were provided all at one time, over the course of a year, that's what I'm trying to understand, the disbursement of funds, because I thought that was what was questionable during the budget discussions, rather than just whomping $100,000 on someone and say, go to it. If you could address that, please.
Yep, Mayor, members of the council. In previous years, the groups would submit to the town a monthly invoice, which would just be a portion of the amount that was allocated. For this fiscal year, again, our proposal was first to make a recommendation to the council as maybe some deliverables, but also give an opportunity for the groups to come forward and maybe tell us how they were going to provide that service. And then once that's determined, then we would then determine how we were going to pay for it. So we didn't get that far. We wanted to see what deliverables the council wanted from the groups, and then we would go from there.
Okay, Mayor, just one more question. So with respect to the proposal this evening, there were three components of your program. So in essence, as we move to this motion, we would then be approving or disapproving those three programs that have been presented. Is that correct?
Mayor, members of council, yes, and then we would then enter into a contract with the groups, and the contract would stipulate how the payment was going to be made.
So they've offered up a menu, and we're basically making those choices this evening, and then we would work the financial arrangements through your contract.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, good questions. Councilmember Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to be clear, I certainly appreciate what you're doing here, of course, and I do appreciate the partnership, and I understand that the two programs especially are beneficial for the town as a whole, where instead of having scattered teams. And just, I don't know how far back you go, but I was on the school board that voted for the administration building to become part of the Boys and Girls Club. So,
I remember doing the presentation to you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Elke.
Mr. Davidson, thank you for being out here this evening. Just a few questions for you. With the 20% reduction, have you had to cut back on any programs that were previously funded by the town?
Mayor Shlum, Councilmember Elke, we will be cutting back some of the services that we were providing, and some of that will be in, depending on what the funding looks like and what kind of agreement we will, it'll probably be in some of the prevention services that we're looking at.
The programs that you've listed as prospective programs for the town to fund, are those programs that are put on by all the other Boys and Girls Club locations?
Yes, most of those programs that we talked about tonight, Tom talked about, like the Smart Moves and the Smart Girls, the Triple Play programs, those are all national programs that are offered through Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So we do offer those at all 9 sites of our organization.
And the costs or the amounts that you listed here, does that include the full amount for that particular program? So under academic success, for example, you have 4 different items under there, and a proposed funding for that of $40,000. Is that paying for that 100%?
No,
Right.
that is not.
Same question for the other 2 items, the $20,000 respectively. Is that paying for those? Is that paying for those programs 100%?
No, just like I mentioned, the overall budget here is $800,000. Between the fee services and what we receive from the town, we have to raise the remaining money to provide those services. So none of those programs are self-sustaining.
So we're essentially, in a nutshell, we're supplementing these programs that you're putting on to basically ensure that you're able to put them on.
You're supplementing a portion of those programs.
Do you have any idea what portion that would be?
I don't.
Out of this 80,000 of all those programs?
No, because we'd have to go back and figure out all the staff costs and all the occupancy costs as well as supplies and those things. I think within the presentation you saw kind of a list of what falls under each of those individual programs. But it would take us a little bit of time to put that together. If you'd like that, please let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Leger?
I'd like to move to authorize staff to prepare a contract for Boys and Girls Club of Scottsdale and disbursement of funds for teen enrichment in the amount of $80,000 for those 3 component programs that were outlined this evening in their presentation.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Thank you very much. Keep up the great work. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, item number 11, presentation by Val Stasek, Fountain Hills Community Theater Executive Director, and possible direction to staff relating to disbursement of funding for fiscal year 11-12 for performances or other programs. Welcome, Val.
Hi, I'm Val Stasek, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here and greet you today. It is with tremendous gratitude. I sent out a letter and email to each of you, so I'm not going to go into great detail. I know, sorry, Channel 11, but I do want to say a few words and then open this up to questions based on what you've seen and so on. We're very grateful that we can partner with the town of Fountain Hills to continue our 25-year history of award-winning productions and youth education. We have an exciting season planned that has cumulatively, and our main stage has cumulatively been awarded over 25 Tony Awards and a Drama Desk Award, as well as a Pulitzer Prize. The theater regularly draws patrons from all over the valley, and this season the name recognition of each of the shows, both youth and main stage productions, should continue to draw that type of clientele or patriotism. Patriotism? The youth productions are in great need of underwriting. The services we provide are invaluable and indisputable. However, in an effort to keep ticket prices affordable and quality levels high, and due to our limited seating capacity, the youth show ticket income does not ever cover the expenses of keeping the programs alive, and therefore we do need your support. And as outlined on the paperwork you've received, the 5 productions that are put on through the youth theater have all been itemized as to what the expense and the income and the net is. So as far as the youth theater is concerned, what we are requesting is to help us defray the costs that we cannot make up in ticket costs, and that way we can keep the programs going. The main stage has a total of 6 shows. 2 of these that I'm proposing underwriting by the town are classics. Crazy for You will be presented February through March for 3 weekends. This is a George Gershwin musical with a Western theme. The show would be produced right around the same time of year as the Arizona Centennial Celebration in February of 2012. It takes place in Nevada or Arizona, and the director has agreed to use Arizona as the setting and inject references into the dialogue to reflect the Centennial pride. The full underwriting budget for this show is also in your packet. And this show is going to be a favorite, and to partner to celebrate the Centennial is pretty exciting. Mame, which is be our season closer, is another fun, classic Jerry Herman musical. Deals with prioritizing what is important in life and dealing with what really matters in life. It'll mark the season finale of our 25th year. The town of Fountain Hills Community Support would underwrite all the production losses for the youth theater and full underwriting for 2 main stage productions. No public funds would be used towards our $202,000 general and administrative operating budget. It would all be going specifically to the programs, which are our mission. So with that said, the total underwriting for these productions comes to more than what the town has allotted. With that in mind, partial underwriting would be wonderful, but I think the partnership for these particular shows would definitely be making a statement and help the community theater, and in particular the youth theater, continue to stay alive. Are there any questions?
Good, thanks, Val. We'll see if there's anyone from the public, and then see if council has questions. Anyone from the public on this
No,
item?
Mayor.
All right, thanks. All right, council, questions for Ms. Stasek related to the community theater? Thank you.
Just have one question.
Yes, Councilmember Elke.
And this is actually for Julie. Julie, how many years has the town, and I meant to ask this actually when Mr. Davidson was still up there, how many years has the town provided funding for the Boys and Girls Club, the theater, and this is a quiz, I can tell by looking at the theater, and then, and Val, perhaps, I'm sorry, Ms. Stasek, if she knows, and then the food bank as well, or if it,
I think when we more formalized things about 4 or 5 years ago, but there was funding prior to that. Obviously, we reduced the funding this year and over the years prior as well. Andrew, do you have or Councilmember Hanson?
Well, virtually, Val, you remember coming to talk to Paul right after incorporation. So
Okay, that
actually, the
far
theater
back.
has been supported from the beginning.
Okay.
And as Steve said, the Boys and Girls Club started, in some measure from '96.
Mm-hmm. And like the Boys and Girls Club, we've grown considerably. When we first came, we were doing 2, maybe 3 shows a year at McDowell Mountain School. So our budget has just we're a business, a wonderful nonprofit business, and we're proud of it, but the expectations have also grown, and the pride.
Okay, good. Any questions, comments related to this $72,240 amount? Councilmember Leger?
Just a quick question, Val. Thanks for your presentation. It goes without saying over the years the tremendous value the theater has provided in influencing youth in our community. I've watched many youth over the years just develop into just very excellent citizens.
Thank you.
And we know, as Julie mentioned, that we're looking at contracting for a service that's an extension of services the town would normally provide under Parks and Recreation, but we're not in the theater. We're not in the theater business, so we rely on your services to help us provide those particular needs. I do have questions, however, from different constituents, and I'd like to address that regarding economic development. Is there any evidence from your perspective, or we have our economic development director here, how these productions add value to our community with respect to a return on investment?
Yes, Councilman Leger, the community theater percentage-wise, and unfortunately I apologize, I did not bring statistics with me this evening. Percentage-wise, as far as drawing people into Fountain Hills to attend productions, the higher percentage comes from outside of Fountain Hills. And those people do go out for dinner. We've discussed with various restaurants in the past, show your ticket, get a discount type of arrangement. So in that way, we are definitely drawing from out of the community. Our classes and workshops, which have not been included in the past, there has been funding on that. Trying to be more specific, this year, I did take that out of the equation. But the workshops and classes, the youth productions, the children that come to audition, many come from Scottsdale, Mesa, and so on. And I can provide statistics for you on all of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Dickey.
Mayor Andrew, I won't be voting on this.
All right, thank you.
May
Any other? Yes.
I just want to add one more thing. Because of the division of when these productions and when all of this happens, that would answer the dates are in the letter. That would answer your question as to the allocation of the funds prior to each production. I would say help. And that's when I would request those funds. So it is spread out throughout the year.
All right, Councilmember Hanson.
Val, based on the 5 productions that you're referring to, how many participants would you estimate would be involved in those 5 productions?
For the youth theater? Participants, for the casts, I could say maybe 25 per cast, some less. Volunteers add an additional 10 to 15 to 20 people involved in the production. Attendance is generally 500 to 600 per production.
And are many of the volunteers youth as well?
Yes, we have strong programs to train the youth to do that, to work backstage. They build sets, they paint the sets. They're working on it continuously. Many of them direct. We have one show a year that is allocated to directing. This year, our Yowboy program is dealing with drug awareness, and we will be working and partnering with the Fountain Hills group, the coalition. Yes, thank you. So we're excited about that prospect as well.
Good. Councilmember Elke.
Val, during I was on the Budget Committee, and during the discussions, there was a lot of talk about tying, different programs together, tying, as you mentioned already, economic development and what the theater contributes towards the town. And of course, there's always a talk about bringing activities to the avenue and to the park. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to, I know there's been some talk in the past, and this predates me, but there was some discussion about performances in the park. And what comes to mind for me, I went to law school in San Diego, and Balboa Park, a wonderful venue, and they had Shakespeare in the park. But there were some discussions about tying the theater to events at the park, and as you heard Councilmember Leger mention earlier, about buying a service, and if that was something that the town were interested in specifically. Is that something that the theater can do, or can you talk a little bit about that?
The contract that was originally laid out, the 3-year contract, and then the 2 years following that, did include a show in the park. 1 year following that did include a show in the park that was funded separately and underwritten by the town. Our staff, our time, doing 12 productions a year, it was very difficult for us to add an additional production And so at that time, that was an additional amount that was added to the amount that we got, which when things had to fall back, that program did go away, because I can't get actors, I can't get people to do those kind of programs without paying them without a higher expense. So, yeah, it was unfortunate, but that was part of what had to go when we reduced the amount that we were doing.
So the town indicated that they wanted, as part of their contract, wanted some type of activity at the park or some type of performance at the park, whether it's one time or an ongoing. Is that something that you could do, provided the funding was there?
Right. Right now, the amount that has been requested covers the existing programs, which are overwhelming for the theater as it is with the minimal staff we have. So adding an additional program would tax what we're doing. So, yeah, it's not out of the question, but the programs that we offer and that are strong, and the youth programs would most likely suffer because of divided attentions. When we did the shows in the park, our directors were often split between what was happening on the stage and trying to arrange for the sound and the lights and everything that was needed in the park. Yes, anything can be done, but with the money that we have been allocated, one of our programs would have to go in order to add a new program to know the
That answers
benefit.
the question.
Got any other questions for this item? All right, look to gain a motion on this item for funding for 1112 for the Fountain Hills Community Theater for $72,240.
Mayor?
Councilman Borowski.
I would move that council direct staff to prepare a contract with the theater to provide funding as allocated in the amount of $72,240.
Good, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Val. All right. Item 12, presentation by Dave Iverson, Extended Hands Food Bank Director, and possible direction to staff relating to disbursement of funding for fiscal year 11-12 for food or other programs. Welcome, Mr. Iverson. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Good evening, Mayor Schlum and Vice Mayor Catino and Council. I believe there was a handout. I received that. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Council this evening. And first of all, I want to say thank you to the Council for 4 years ago when we were granted funds to stabilize our operation. It was about that time that we went from about 100 families that we were serving to now over 300. And just as a point of reference tonight, perspective, to help us all understand the magnitude of the need and the costs and that kind of thing, the money that has been appropriated for the food bank, if it is approved, if you even take 300 of the families that come to us and divide that into that amount, it amounts to about $8.40 a month per family. So as you would well know, the rest of that is has to be raised and comes in form of donations from the community, and as well as the majority of the food that we dispense to the people comes from this great community, from churches, individuals, clubs, schools, and local stores, especially with the perishable items that we pick up every morning. And we do purchase some food to make sure the food boxes that we pack have sufficient protein, such as beans and rice and things like that, in the boxes. Cash donations, of course, keep the doors open and the operation running. And we work with community volunteers, community service, including court-ordered service individuals. And we basically have no additional income sources other than what we do on our own. We have a food booth at the fair twice a year, and when the weather cooperates, we're able to do pretty well on the ice distribution at the fair, which hasn't happened the last couple times. But that helps to also help our bottom line in running the operation. Of course, everything we do through the food bank is free to those who come to us, those who qualify. And as I stated in the first bullet there, that last October we received the mandate from the city, from the town, to qualify through an affidavit everyone that would come to us, and we have done that, and that's where the 341 individual families. Some of those might be a single individual. Some of those, of course, would be a couple. Some of those would be actual numbers in their families. Last Friday, in the Scottsdale edition to the Arizona Republic, they shared the rise in the local community here, the school system, for children that are in need of assistance when it comes to lunches. And it's pretty indicative of what we have seen also at the food bank, as far as 7 years ago when I took over the operation. There was a different clientele. Most of those people are gone, and the last 4 years they've been replaced with unemployed people, and some of those have even gone over the period of time and been replaced with others. We have desired to, we did relocate for the purpose of installing a commercial kitchen, and we were in need of new coolers and freezers, which have been provided. We are presently on hold with that, and you can read the information there as to the situation that we are facing there, and we hope to someday be able to open that and use it as a way to raise some funds and also to do some training. By way of information, I am as most of you know, I am an ordained minister, have been so for 40 years. I can't change that. You do need to know that Extended Hands Food Bank does not get involved or does not do any ministries to people that would cause any conflicts. We have heard that you know, we do have our critics. You know, no matter what you try to do or what you do, there might be people that don't necessarily like what we do, but we do not get involved with ministry as far as the Extended Hands Food Bank. However, 2 years ago in October, be 2 years this coming October, we did develop a separate corporation, separate Arizona corporation, and a separate 501c3, and began what we call warehouse ministry. And it almost was something that was necessary just to give people the opportunity to come on a Saturday night and receive some inspiration and hope. It's a total separate entity, separate lease, separate warehouse, separate funding. We give away gift cards weekly. There's a church that partnered with us to give away $200 a month to a needy family, and we also then provide a free meal to those that come out, and we average probably 45 people that come out on a Saturday night, and I would truly say that it has made an impact on a number of people over the last 2 years in their ability to keep their head on straight and work through the difficulties they might be facing because of their economic situations. The concerns that I would have with the proposed method of funding is that the community would be inclined to believe that their food donations are no longer needed, therefore depriving many of the pleasure of keeping our shelves stocked, resulting in diminished food supplies. Secondly, if funds are reallocated to reimbursement of food purchases, it will place an additional burden to raise funds to keep the doors open. Also, it increases the time, costs, and labor to acquire and freight the food. And then number 3 is that you would think that when you make things available to people because they have a need, that everyone would really appreciate that, and yet there are those who, I guarantee, will, once they learn that the town is purchasing food and working through us just for that purpose, that they will want specific things. We already have that, and we do our best to try to accommodate that. But there's people that they want to put their order in, and I just would see at that point a huge issue, because it would be, I would compare it to a dinner table, and the family sitting down, and this child wants this to eat, and that child wants that to eat, and mom says, this is what we're eating tonight, and that's it. I don't want to anticipate problems, but I would guarantee that there will be those who will take that initiative and use it as a way to complain that we aren't giving them what they want. We're not buying what they want, and I don't know how we would even comply with that when it comes to orders, special orders. We're not a store. We're not a ability to handle things in that fashion. As I said, we're totally a service organization. Our funds totally come by donation, and we're like the middle person from the community to the stores we collect from, and we make it available to people that are in need. So specific programs, I don't know how to even address that, because we just simply make food available to people. When it comes to the kitchen, we hope to be able to do some things there in training and helping people maybe relearn or learn a job and that kind of thing, but that isn't there yet.
Thank you very much. We'll see if there's someone from the public that wishes to speak, and then we'll get into some questions for you. Thank you for your presentation to us. Speaker?
Mayor, we have 2 speakers, Sue Horn and Dorothy Dugan.
All right. Are you Sue? All right. Welcome.
Hi.
Mayor?
Thank you for hearing me. My name is Sue Horn, and I live at 14021 North Sunflower Drive in Fountain Hills. Been here for 3 years now, moved here from Pennsylvania. It's a gorgeous, stunningly beautiful community. We are so happy and feel so privileged to live here. And then I volunteered about last November to be a bookkeeper at the Extended Hands Food Bank. And I just wanted to say, before that time, I didn't even know there were any needy people in Fountain Hills. I could never see anything. Everything was like beautiful. I didn't even know they existed. And I think, maybe a lot of people really don't realize that they do exist. They can't even get, we are an advantaged community. We can't even get certain kinds of funding that disadvantaged areas get. We're just not looked at all. So it's really up to our community to help our less fortunate people. Yeah, and just seeing the faces of the less fortunate in our community, I'd just like to tell you that they may be old, they're infirmed, they're mothers with babies, and the saddest part is the men who come in who've lost a job and say, I don't know, I've never done this before, and they are so grateful for the food that they get, food. And then there's, the people with overwhelming needs, way overwhelming needs. A woman last Saturday came in. She's taking care of her elderly mother who had an operation, and she has also inherited like 2 babies, 8 months old and 2 years old, to take care of from a family rescue situation. And she herself has cancer, and she's like so grateful. They're just so grateful for the food. So I just want to, say that Pastor Iverson has done a fabulous job coordinating all the volunteers in this operation, securing the donations from all over the community, and streamlining a delivery system which provides hope for over 300 needy families in Fountain Hills. This is a non-religious activity. You don't have to enter a church or a religious building. You don't have to profess or submit to any faith at all. The need is the only requirement, and the need is growing. As you've heard, last Friday in the Arizona Republic, the exploding rise in the statistics of there are 38% of the school children in Fountain Hills alone who are or who qualify for discounted or free lunches. The times are bad. They may be even getting worse if there's a double dip recession.
Ms. Horn, if you would wrap it up.
Okay. I'm done. This is the end. I don't want to think about what will happen if these people, if the food bank closes its doors. Thank you for your serious consideration in continuing your funding of the Extended Hands Food Bank.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dungeon.
Hello, I'm here again as an advocate. I have no direct association with the Extended Hands Food Bank, except I know that it exists in this country, in the community of Fountain Hills. We know that, again, the town has decreased the funding for the Extended Hands Food Bank. We know that the need is growing. And I think it would be better for people to feed their own families from the food that they get from the Extended Hands Food Bank than to go to a school lunch program. Many of the people now that are going there are, again, maybe they still might be still working, but their hours have been decreased. Maybe their salary's been decreased. Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe now, because of the price of gas, that's where their extra money's going, is just to buy gas to get to their jobs. These people have lost dignity, and we're here, many of us are here because they have lost so much dignity that they don't have the dignity to come to this forum to say, you know, why did you cut back food for us? Why did you cut back expenses? And I'm going to bring it up again. The town said, yes, I know that Centennial Park is going to be a great thing, but I'm saying in this time where where this country and this community and the state is going through hard times, we have elected to go ahead with this very expensive park because it will cost much more than $75,000. You will go into donations from the whole community in order to build this. But here we are. We're not investing in people that have real needs. Again, the Boys and Girls Club, the Fountain Hills Community Theater that provides just quality and arts to our community. 25 years, and now to the people. Do we just want these people to move out of the community so they aren't needy anymore? I don't think that's what you want. I think our legacy to our people and to the future is to take care of the neediest, the ones that can't talk for themselves. Thank you very much for listening to me again.
Thanks, Ms. Dungeon. All right, thank you. Any questions for Pastor Iverson? Councilman Maralki.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Iverson, for the presentation.
Thank
Just a few questions for you. Just some questions that have been raised to me, and I just want to give you the opportunity to answer them. There was some question about whether there were religious services being conducted in the building that was being paid for in part by town tax dollars. You've answered that question very thoroughly. Thank you. There was also a question raised as to there being a restaurant or some type of food sales going on out of this area. Do you have anything to speak to that? Is there any type of fish fries or anything like that where there were sales going on? Where
That would be for the future if we were able to do that as a fundraiser.
Okay.
To help supplement the food bank finances.
So are the tax dollars being used that you're receiving, are they being used to pay for the kitchen so that monies can be raised through the kitchen, through the sale?
No, most of the kitchen has been funded by my Rotary Club as far as equipment and things like that.
Okay. So none of the tax dollars, none of the monies that you receive from the town are going to support something outside of the food bank or a separate restaurant kitchen?
You know, when the dollars just come in, as far as being able to say 100% that nothing has been ever done like that, I wouldn't be able to say that with honesty. That isn't our purpose. I don't know how you would divide that out as far as that it's going to that. Okay. Because we're not, at this point, we're not operating the facility.
Okay. And last question, can you speak to, I know you had some recent construction that was going on and there were some questions or some concerns raised about permitting, fire inspection, and those sorts of things. Can you provide an update or maybe a little bit of an explanation of that?
As far as I know, all that's being addressed. We are, as I stated here, in the work of what it's going to take to put a grease interceptor in. We did present a grease interceptor that the county approved, health department approved, and we were informed that that would not be acceptable by the sanitation department in Fountain Hills.
What about any construction or anything that's going on? I mean, is that all within permit and code now? That okay.
It's all that has been presented to the city, the plans and all that kind of thing. So, you know, all the things that we had done as far as renovating the food bank and that kind of thing was all just redoing, painting, putting tile on the floor, that kind of thing.
And the reason I raise this question, Pastor, is because it's important for the taxpayers to know that monies that are being contributed to a nonprofit such as the food bank, that the nonprofit is following the same codes and the same rules and regulations and fire safety inspections that the rest of us are required to follow. So that's why I raise those questions.
Yeah. and all that is being addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, in the works.
Good, thank you. And thanks for your presentation again, and I appreciate the concerns, and hopefully some of those items, should we move forward on the funding of $30,250, kind of reduction of about 20% from last year, and a reduction, I think, from year prior to that as well. Perhaps some of those items can be worked out, but we are trying to put more clear measurements in. And I think part of the question that Councilman Rauke asked, you couldn't ask exactly clearly because I don't think we had things defined as much as we're hoping to do so moving forward in our next agreement potentially with you there. Just to speak to some of your concerns also about the community being inclined to think that the government's funding things now, and I know we're a small town, but the function of the council here is a government function. And it's clear in all the groups that came before us tonight is the town is a small portion of the monies that these organizations need to survive and to provide services. I'll get in more into that later, but clearly with you folks, you rely upon individuals not only for their volunteerism, but for their donations, and also businesses for donations and food, and probably some help as well on the volunteers from individuals at business community as well. So it's not the government that's providing the food at the food bank as a whole. It's the community, and often when, even in this respect, when food, the dollars coming to your organization potentially being reduced, is a reflection that that the town, the community doesn't value the Extended Hands Food Bank or the need of those that are less fortunate and need food at a time when it's even more difficult to come up with money for food. The community just needs to keep in mind, this is the government's portion. The government has decided to do this at this time, and it is being reduced, and it may continue to be reduced. But it's really the community, the individuals, the businesses' responsibility to be involved directly, to contribute. And government, as you said at the onset, helped at the very beginning to get you established, and you're providing a great service, particularly out of the Extended Hands Food Bank. It's incumbent in reading your concerns about the community feeling that this is just something the government's paying for, so now either I don't need to contribute, or I can just go get whatever food I want now, is so far from the truth. The people, the individuals, the businesses in our community need to continue to support efforts in our community to support one another. That's not the government's role here. We are quite a limited government here in Fountain Hills, and we are more so because of the funding that we've received over the last number of years. It continues to reduce ourselves. So I take with what you said your concerns are wholeheartedly, and it just, people need to know our reduction of funding doesn't reflect a reduction in need, and in fact it's just the opposite there at the food bank.
I understand that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right, Andrew, anything you want to share with us in relation to some of these concerns, or do you think you can work offline with Pastor Iverson and others do you have enough to move forward?
We do.
Okay. All right, Council, can I get a motion on this item?
I move to authorize staff to prepare a contract with the Extended Hands Food Bank and disbursement of funds for food in the amount of $30,250.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Thank you, Pastor Iverson. Keep up the good work. All right, next item, number 13, consideration resolution 2011-12, ratifying and clarifying the prior recommendation of the Town Council related to Cotillo Plaza. Andrew.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is back before you. Came up originally in our discussion with naming policy that this some time ago that the council had addressed that at a point in time when the town acquired the 13 acres on which the town hall and the community center and library sit, that the center be designated as Cotillo Plaza, I believe was the name that was chosen then. We wanted to bring that back for you to make sure that we get council reaffirming that, because it was, the motion was one of those directions to future council to do this after the property was acquired. We wanted to make sure that now that you have a policy in place, that you affirm that and give staff some direction on how you'd like to recognize former Mayor Cotillo in what kind of entry signage or how you all might want to go about it, so that we can bring back some options for you.
All right, good. Thank you very much. Anyone in the public on this item?
No, sir.
All right, great. Council, questions, discussion on this item? Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I have just one concern. I appreciate everything, and I'm glad it's going to go through, but I have the word plaza. Does plaza sound old to us today? That was my concern.
Good, thank you. I wonder if there may be another word for it, and I guess it's important at this time that if we are not going to move forward with that, we have some alternative that we would work into the resolution. Is that right, Andrew?
Yes, Mayor. That's why we're here tonight, to try and get some direction from the council on if there are changes to how you'd like to designate it, that we work them out now so we can figure out how to go forward.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Hanson.
Perhaps we could just ratify the action and leave the actual name for further additional discussion in the future, combined with what Andrew was referring to as far as signage and the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay. Will that work, Andrew? Okay, that's a great idea. Any other discussion on the concept or the ratification of what was started in '96?
Mayor, just
Councilmember Leger.
if I could address the town attorney, just one quick question. If we move forward on this particular initiative, naming the plaza or whatever it's referred to as, we have a map in our packet here. That will not exclude the ability for naming rights within that plaza, would it?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Good question. All right, any other questions, comments on this? Andrew, do we need to make a particular motion with that change to the resolution? They're leaving out, or do we need to rework the resolution at all?
Currently, the resolution is ratifying the previous decision, and I believe Councilmember Hanson's comment was to leave the details for what the actual name is to a later point in time when we actually design some sort of a whatever the memorabilia is that'll be out there.
All right. What type of motion do we need here, Andrew?
Just to approve.
Councilmember Hanson.
I move to approve resolution number 2011-12, ratifying and clarifying the prior recommendation of the town council related to Cotillo Plaza.
Second.
All right, excellent. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Great, thank you. It'll be exciting to go to the next step and actually celebrate the naming in some respect with some signage. Be great, thank you. Next item, 14, consideration of a contract with Urban Energy Solutions in the amount of $59,582.26 for the purchase and installation of the Town Center Complex Energy Management System. Raymond, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Before I get started on my presentation, I would like to introduce Scott Copeland. He is the president of Urban Energy, and we also have our facility supervisor here, Stretch, to answer any questions if I get tripped up in this technical aspect of the presentation. I'd like to update you a little bit on our energy efficiency and conservation block grant that we were awarded last April. The town of Fountain Hills conducted level 2 energy audits on approximately 105,000 square feet of town-owned buildings. This was completed in the last quarter of 2010. This was completed as part of the energy efficiency and conservation block grant, and there are no matching requirements to this grant. The town did receive a detailed energy audit from the energy design and consulting company, and and that was about $9,500, and that was, we got a reimbursement. We paid that and have a reimbursement of that already, and that leaves us about $136,500 in grant money. The audits were designed to help us identify areas in which the town could focus its attention on possible energy efficiency projects. Prior to receiving the findings of the audit, the town had submitted for 2 projects, and one of those projects were a solar project which was going to go in on the Parks buildings, and the other was a massive lighting retrofit for town-owned buildings. But due to the results of the audit and some of the SRP rebates that were discontinued, staff is recommending that we redirect funding to retrofit the buildings with more energy-efficient equipment. That is outlined in our audit. Currently, the town center complex maintains the heating cooling operations with 2 separate manually run energy management systems. And you'd think a good energy guy could harness some of that out there too. Right now, Stretch has to manually manipulate 2 separate systems. So the first thing he sees when he gets up in the morning is a computer screen, and the last thing he sees when he goes to bed at night is a computer screen. So staff is recommending that we replace those 2 systems, one which is over 10 years old, and they're antiquated. They don't talk to each other. So this will allow us to adjust the heating and cooling and some lighting through this computer system. The new energy management system is a computer-aided tool that is used to monitor, control, and schedule and optimize the performance of our heating and cooling and lighting. We'll also, in our project, we'll be adding 6 mini HVAC systems. We might also be able to add 1 more, and that would be over on the, the building that's, the Kiwanis building. That has an old system there that we might be able to upgrade as well as part of this project. The HVAC systems that we're going to be adding, actually, the current systems cools our IT rooms and our telecommunications rooms. So what we do is we have to keep those rooms cooler than what we normally do in our office space. So those are shared systems. We'll split those out, and those mini HVAC systems will actually cool those IT rooms, so we won't have to heat the office spaces needlessly. We'll also be adding some daylight harvesting controls in the larger main areas of our buildings. Those will automatically adjust as the light levels allow for it to use less lighting. The HVAC systems, some of the lighting systems, and the heating systems will all be able to be controlled with this new EMS. The total cost of the projects is about $207,000. We'll be getting approximately $71,000 in SRP rebates. We've already secured the rebates for the energy management system, and that will pay up to about half of the cost of the purchase and installation of the energy management system. The project is scheduled to start late August, the beginning of September, and we should be finished by mid-October. The town can expect to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 222 metric tons annually. This is the equivalent of removing 38.5 passenger vehicles from the roads each year, and the equivalent of 22,654 gallons of gas consumed in a year. The town placed the energy management system project out to bid, and we received 2 eligible bids. Our current provider was one of the bidders, Energy Controls, and Urban Energy, which was the qualifying proposer with the lowest bid. The contract with Urban Energy will be for the purchase and installation of the new energy management system, at the Town Center complex. The remainder of the funds will go to the retrofits that will be completed by the end of this fiscal year. If we don't go forward with this project, we are in jeopardy of losing our funding through ARA. When we received our contract with the Energy Department, it was for 18 months. That 18 months, and within that 18 months, we had to start our project. And this September is that deadline to start the project. So we are recommending that you approve the contract with Urban Energy in the amount of $59,826. With that, I'll answer any questions I can.
What's the actual amount? I think our motion's $59,582.26. Is that a correct number?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, sir.
All right. Council, any questions?
Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Relke.
Thank you. Raymond, you had mentioned that we have $136,500 in grant money that's left over. Are those monies that we have to spend before September? Is that what that's what you're referring to?
Mayor, Councilman Elke, what we did when we submitted for our contract with the Energy Department, we rolled all of the proposed projects into one plan, which allowed us to be able to start one of those projects that commits those funds by September. We will have 3 years from April of last year to complete all of the projects.
And you had mentioned also, Mayor, that you're anticipating $71,000 in SRP rebates. Now, that's factored into what the cost is here. Are there any chances that that's not going to go through? I know it's hard for you to predict what SRP is going to do, but how certain, if you can tell me, are those rebates coming through?
Well, the rebates that are coming for the energy management system will be partially on performance and partially on the amount of money that we put into the cost of the project. Other aspects of the project, the HVAC systems, those are steadfast costs. Those will come in regardless of the performance. Those are, you spend $20,000, you get a certain amount that the rebates for. So some of them are steadfast costs, some of those are performance costs.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dickey?
Thank you, Mayor. Is that pretty clear how they're going to be measuring that and assessing it, and do you know the time frame?
Mayor, Councilman, can you repeat that question?
Thank you. SRP, as far as they're going to be doing a performance measures or performance contract, so is there a length of time that we have in order to approve?
Yes, what they would like us to do is install this first portion of the project. Then they would like to have about 3 months of data that they're going to be able to analyze, and with that, will be able to tell us what our performance payment is on that.
Thank you.
Yep, Councilmember Leger.
I mean, just a couple quick questions. I guess bottom line questions. The benefit in doing this is it's a cost savings to the town in terms of reducing our energy consumption, translated into reducing our utility bills. Is that the objective here?
That is the objective.
Okay. And the second question is that this is being paid for by grant funds, and there are no matching funds from the town.
That is correct.
Thank you.
That was my question. Anything else? You stole my question.
Mine too.
Councilmember Dickey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with Urban Energy Solutions in the amount of $59,582.26 for the purchase and installation of the EMS system for the town center complex.
Second.
All right, we've got a first, second. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Thanks, Raymond.
Thank you.
Now, item 15, consideration of entering into a contract with the Mercer Group not to exceed $20,000 to conduct the search for the new town manager. Hi, Joan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the last council meeting on August 4th, the council unanimously approved moving forward with a contract to the Mercer Group to conduct a search for a new town manager. And our town attorney consequently wrote a contract, and we sent that off to the Mercer Group. They have signed that with no changes, and you have a copy of that, I think, in your packet. So tonight, staff is recommending that the council approve the signed contract from the Mercer Group to go forward with our search for a new town manager.
All right, thank you, Joan. Anyone from the public on this item?
Yes, sir. Vincent Marcello.
Great, thank you. Mr. Rosello, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members. With regard to item number 15, consideration of entering into a contract for the Mercer Group, I'd like to bring it to your attention the fact that I request that you table this item. You don't need to hire a consulting firm because you already have a very qualified person in Julie Getty, your deputy town manager, to be our town manager. And apply the $20,000 consulting fee towards hiring her and working out a contractual arrangement if she chooses to accept such an offer. If she weren't very qualified, you never would have had her as your deputy manager. This town should promote from within. Mrs. Getty has worked with all of the people in Town Hall, as well as being your director of finance. If you hire someone from outside, they have to learn all of what she already knows, and then some. Common sense should prevail here. Give the town of Fountain Hills the opportunity to have the right person be our town manager. Also combine the town manager and finance departments and save some of the additional dollars in hiring. Now, if she chooses not to accept the position, then you can come back here and take this item up again and then go out and get a search firm. But I really think you've got the right person. Give her the opportunity. The town, if we had any problem with her, she wouldn't be sitting right there. So let's do the right thing. Let's use our common sense and get on with it. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Marcello.
Thank you.
All right, one person? All right, thanks. Council, any questions for Joan or any items on this item to discuss? Joan, with the agreement that's in place, and Andrew, do you feel it encompasses the council's interest in the process that we need to follow the desires of council? Does this contract encompass or give us the flexibility in working with the Mercer Group potentially to include everything we discussed doing, the scope of work? Thanks. Joan?
Directing that to me?
Sure, Joan.
Yes, it does. Mr. Mercer, as the other search firms, also followed the RFP in their proposal to us, and I've talked to Mr. Mercer a couple times in the last couple of days, and he seems very flexible and willing to work with the council and do whatever the needs of the town are to conduct a successful search for a manager.
Good, thanks. The item Mr. Marcello brought up is a good one. We obviously value Ms. Getty tremendously. We have for years. Andrew, it's not a requirement for us to go through a process such as this. A council could simply agendize an item and appoint a new town manager and execute a contract for such, correct?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the appointment of town manager is completely at your discretion, as well as the process for selecting the person to appoint.
Thank you. I know, obviously, we went through a process discussing whether we do an in-house search, and we didn't really discuss not doing a search, and we came up with it, and also doing an outside search, came up with an RFP, so we spent some good amount of time considering these things, and decided to go with an outside search firm. that seemed to fit us best and with what we expected to be the process to be, and with the confidence that through that process we'd end up with the best town manager for our town moving forward. That would not preclude the interim town manager from applying, would it, Andrew? Okay. So that's still an option. Council, any discussion on that item? I think we certainly had quite a bit of discussion on it, but it brings up a point that we did not discuss as a council, but I'm sure individually we may have considered outside of our council meeting. All right, good. Any input on the agreement or anything related to this agenda item tonight? And I know as far as timing, this once we execute, if we execute this contract, what's the timing of the Mercer Group expected to next steps?
When I talked to him today, he was, the time frame that he proposed in response to the RFP was 90 to 120 days. I think we're pushed out, if it was 90 days, a little bit because we delayed having the initial meeting with the council. That was supposed to be middle of July. We waited till August. But he indicated today that it was very doable to have somebody on board by December 1st. And that is what the contract says. The contract says his services from tonight, if approved by the council, up to December 1st.
Okay, and he'll be meeting with council and staff, and that's when we would work with this contractor on establishing the process going forward, the inclusion of the public and a lot of the ideas that have been brought up by council. We'll give that input to them as to how we would like to see this moving forward once we sign this agreement.
That's correct. If the contract is approved tonight, the Mercer Group has indicated that they're available as early as next week to come and meet with the council members individually or as a group, however the council desires. He recommended individually, and he'll be asking questions about how to move forward with this. He'd also like to meet with the management group and get input from them too as to what the ideal candidate would look like.
I think it's clear from what I heard with the council that we'll end up with a process that'll have individual input, group input, staff input, public input, stakeholder input, and probably a nice public process, maybe if it's maybe similar to what we did previously with a community gathering and questions and such. But let's make sure that when we do have opportunity with the Mercer Group, we make sure we share what's really important to us individually and as a group. All right, any other input on this item before we? Yes, Mr. Marcello, please come forward. And thanks, Joan. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, I think before you go and take a vote on this piece of information, based on what I said, I'm kind of afraid that you're ready to go forward with this without just asking the individual who is really very qualified. If she turns it down, then you could give the Mercer Group its monies and so forth and so on as a $20,000 search fee and what have you. But don't go do that without seeing if the party that I just said is very qualified, and I think a number of the people in this town would agree with it. She's been in this town for a lot of years. Did anybody read the paper recently that they just interviewed her and asked how long she's been here and so forth? I mean, she knows the ins and outs. The guy or the gal you're going to hire to come in here has got to learn what she already knows. It just doesn't make good sense. So table it. Ask the lady whether you want to do it right now or after this, then come back and present your motion and accept it. But table it right now. Don't do what you shouldn't do right now. Can I ask you, is this position what you would want? No, I can't. No, I'm just saying I can't, but you can. Either get it now and then vote, or table it and then come back and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Council, any other discussion on the item? Thank you very much. All right, Council. Don't have the item here in front of me right here for suggested motion. Can we get a motion to approve the contract of the Mercer Group as presented to conduct the search of the new town manager at a cost not to exceed $20,000.
I move to approve the contract with MRSA as presented to conduct the search for a new town manager at the cost not to exceed $20,000.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Thank you very much. Let's see here. All right, next item is item 16, discussion with possible direction to staff regarding a temporary salary increase for interim town manager Julie Getty. Joan?
Thank you again. At the last council meeting, the council appointed our deputy town manager to be our interim town manager until a new town manager is on board. And I had suggested at that time that the council discuss a salary increase if they felt that was appropriate. And the council had directed staff to come forward tonight with a recommendation as far as the salary for the interim town manager. And I have done that. I guess there's really no science to doing that, and we do not currently have a policy that says if somebody's promoted, there's a certain percentage of pay increase or anything like that. So I based my recommendation on what we've done in the past when Kate Sannon was our interim town manager, is to just move the salary above what the highest paid employee was currently getting. But also I did a little research through the league as to what assistant town manager salaries are on an average with towns the size of our population. And the average salary for an assistant town manager was $109,700 and some odd dollars that I had. So that's why I recommended that amount of salary for until we have a new town manager on board.
Thanks, Joan. That's very clear. Appreciate it. Do we have anyone from the public on this item?
No, sir.
Beth? Thanks. Council, discussion on this item? Councilmember Dickey.
Mayor, move to approve a temporary salary increase effective August 1st, 2011 for the interim town manager to $4,220 biweekly until such time as a new town manager has started employment with the town of Fountain Hills.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Councilman Morelke, thank you. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Councilmember Dickey?
Just to clarify, because of Mr. Marcello, when it says a new town manager, we know that just means somebody starting new right now.
The position. Thank you. We've had some discussion, and I appreciate what has come down. Appreciate the motion, and of course appreciate Ms. Getty a great deal. And this is for a period of this interim position of likely 4-month period. The salary going up 20%, and I appreciate how you compared it to the current position, people in that current position. I was looking at maybe something closer to what the top salary was of the town employee, and then a little bit more, not 10% more. So I was looking at maybe something that might equate to more like $1,000 a month or something along those lines. Not just because I'm pulling on my hat, but also because we are fiscally constrained. And either of those figures, Ms. Getty would be worth it. And I think she would appreciate receiving more, and I'm not expecting comments from her because that'd be kind of a weird spot to be in. But I was certainly in favor of paying more than our highest paid town employee, but I wasn't certain that we'd be $10,000 over that over a year's period of time. So I won't make an amendment to a motion, just look for some more discussion on that train of thought if there is any. Otherwise, again, it's over a 4-month period of time, so it doesn't make a large dollar amount difference, but the 109 was a little higher than what I was wanting to go forward on myself here. Council, anything further discussion on the motion? Councilmember Dickey?
Mayor, what would that amount be then, that you're suggesting for the yearly, just for comparative sake?
I would say $102,000. I'm not making an amendment yet, but
Mayor,
Councilman Rauke.
I mean, if we're going to have a new town manager in place, did I understand correctly, in place by December 1st, or it'll be concluded by December 1st, Joan?
He said it was very doable to have somebody, well, depending if they're currently working out of state and have a contract where they have to give 30 or 60 days notice, that would determine the start date. But he said it was very doable to have everything concluded by December 1st. I would guess that somebody would be here by the middle of December if he concludes negotiations or the council does by, say, the end of October.
We're talking, Mayor, about, it's a 4-month period, and I think Julie not only doing the town manager duties is also doing the duties of the finance director as well. I know there's some discussion about some outside help at no cost to the town, but those responsibilities still lie at Ms. Getty's feet, so that's essentially 2 staff persons' duties there. So we're talking about a 4-month period. I don't think it's substantial for that short duration for someone that's doing effectively 2 jobs, in addition to having the savings of not having a town manager in place as of yet.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? That, just to be clear, motions to go to a salary of $109,704. All right, great. Thank you. I respect your input. It's just, we did have discussion. I thought last time we talked about going a couple percent above the highest, and so I just wanted to make sure I brought that up. Very good. All in favor of this motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Getty, you're worth it, and we appreciate you being there. Thank you, Joan. Item 17, discussion with possible action relating to the proposed resolutions to be considered for adoption by the 2011 Resolutions Committee at their annual August 30th, 2011 business meeting held during the League of Arizona Cities and Towns annual conference. Julie.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Each year, the League of Arizona Cities and Towns asks cities and towns for proposed resolutions to be presented during the upcoming legislative session. And what is before the council tonight is the compilation of all of those. This is the town's opportunity during the league conference to either support or oppose the proposed resolutions, and that these will be proposed to the legislature during the 2012 legislative session. Be happy to answer any of the questions. Some of the proposed ones are to support the freeze on the legislature taking any more portion of state shared revenues, as well as reinstating the rate on HERF that they did in the last legislative session.
Thanks, Julian. For council in your packet, you saw there are some resolutions that some towns and cities brought forward that the executive committee, I think it was, or the resolution committee, decided that they thought it was in the best interest of all cities and towns in Arizona to recommend adoption of, and some were recommended not to be moved forward because for a variety of different reasons. But it is something that's done every year at the League of Cities and Towns conference, and it's an interesting process. Usually it's done in about an hour and a half, sometimes 3 hours. They go through all these resolutions and move as a group to direct staff of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns to work with their legislative liaisons or whoever might be necessary to advocate on behalf of cities and towns in Arizona on these items. So I'd be happy, or whoever, if someone else would like to sit in on the resolutions committee meeting. I think I already offered that to everyone, and no, there were no takers, but I've done it for a few years. It is interesting, but whatever we carry forward here, I'll certainly voice on our behalf of the town of Fountain Hills down at the conference later this month. And again, for the public, this is all online. I think it's all in our packet. So, Councilmember Dickey.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the League of Arizona Cities and Towns 2012 proposed resolutions.
Thank you. Any a second? Second, Councilman Leger, thank you. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, sir.
All right, thanks. Council, any discussion on these? And it is obviously a thick packet, so there's quite a bit to it. Some of these items come forward most every year as they're kind of readopted because they're of interest to the cities and towns. Most of them aren't surprising to anyone, but any discussion? All right, thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed?
Mayor, 6-0.
Thank you very much. Item 18, council discussion direction to interim town manager, finance director Giddy. Julie, any items to given direction tonight, apart from what we've made motions on?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. There'll be direction to move ahead with 3 contracts for the community contracts, to go ahead and prepare those contracts for the council's approval.
Good, thank you. Any report on recent activity you'd like to go over?
Just 3 things, yes, Mayor. During the last council meeting, we had a citizen come up and ask what the town's total indebtedness was, and I passed out a report to the council of that report that's on file every year with the Arizona Department of Revenue, and we've also added it to our town website under the Finance Division for the residents to see. Secondly, what came up at the last meeting is what the Finance Department was going to do for assistance if we needed it, and we are very, very fortunate in that we have 2 very experienced government CPAs who have volunteered to come in on a regular basis and help us doing whatever we need through our year-end audit, through our preparing our financial report, and helping with the budget. So we're very, very fortunate to have Mr. Bert Fisher and Mr. Craig Rudolphi coming in and helping us. And that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, highly skilled people helping at a time right when we needed it, so that's terrific. Thank you to all our volunteers in town. I just want to mention that I know quite a few of us were over at the El Salvador night last night, over at the Learning Center at the Unified School District here in Fountain Hills, and it was really cool. And we're looking to have the youth there, some of the 44 youth that went down to El Salvador to put together a video collage that we can play on Channel 11 that'll demonstrate not just some of the beautiful pictures that they took, but some of the takeaways that they have and some of the lessons that were learned and perhaps next steps in regards to our sister city relationship with the city in El Salvador and perhaps other places. It was a great presentation, so we'll continue to keep that top of mind and perhaps something coming to Channel 11 soon. All right, look for a motion to adjourn. All right, second? Nobody wants to leave. Second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Thank you.